This is a lemon. On its own, it tastes pretty bad. But with a little sugar, it can become something that is seriously delicious. Like a nice pie, or a cookie, or lemonade. Now think of a car that's a lemon. Usually this means a car that has so many problems that the state tells whomever you got it from to buy it back. In short, it's bad. Really bad. But what if you took a bad car and gave it a little sugar? What happens then? My name is Mike Mustang. Each week I travel the country with the goal of showcasing the best and baddest muscle cars and hot rods around. Every car has a past and every owner a story. Welcome to the world of big muscle.
I started when I was little, messing with cars when I didn't even know what they were. And later, my first car was a piece of 2x4 and a couple of lawnmower wheels and pieces I built when I was about 12 years old. For some reason, it wasn't fast enough, so I said, well, maybe I can change the sprocket and go faster. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was hot rodding, 2x4s at that age.
I grew up in Oregon, and my dad is a Harley guy. Cars for him were like his greatest car that he still owns is a 1981 Toyota Corona wagon, and it's an automatic. I wanted to do cars that were fun because he was all about motorcycles. And I eventually got into Datsun 510s, and that was the first car that I was like, okay, I get this. I really know what owning a car and loving a car was about.
Don't get me wrong, all the cars that we drive are fun in their own way. The fun car I'm driving today is a 1927 Ford Model T. This thing is a riot. Okay, this thing was originally built for the 24 Hours of Lemons. Now for those of you who don't know what that is, that's a 24-hour endurance race where you're driving a $500 car. This car really did start out as a Model T. Pretty cool. Listen to that. Oh, all right, stop sign. Okay. This is a little bit of a longish light. So what do we have here really quick? The drivetrain is 1986 Ford Mustang. That includes the 5-liter engine, the 8.8 rear, with I think 355 gears, and the front end is off Ford Pinto, and the light's green. Yeah, son! How awesome does that sound? Oh my God. This is one of those cars, man, you look around the cabin and what do you see? A whole bunch of nothing. You see a cut-out aluminum panel with a volt gauge, an oil pressure gauge, and a water pressure gauge, which is basically all the gauges you ever need. You need to have a big tack to let you know where you're spinning at. Harnesses, a nice roll cage to make sure you don't get dead when you slam into something, and an exhaust note that, well, sounds like that. Wasn't that awesome? I mean, from a fun perspective, just as much fun as a friggin' Porsche or a Corvette, hands down. You know why? Because if you throw it into a wall, you really don't give a shit.
At the rear, it's an 8.8, and part of that was convenience. It actually came from the Mustang that gave its life for the original Volvo. And that rear axle was laying around, so that's what we used. Same with the rear suspension. We started with the Mustang 4-link because they were there, they were arms, they had bushings. It was engineered, you know, using stock parts when you're building an endurance car is kind of important because then you can go buy another part to replace it. So we stuck with the stock lower control arms and we engineered our own upper control arms out of crap we had laying around, which were a part off of a Ford Explorer rear axle. The brakes in LeMons are free. You can spend $1 million on your brake system. And using bolt-on parts, they're actually 96 Ford Cobra Mustang brakes.
That's another part of the philosophy of the car is don't use special parts. Use parts that you can find anywhere and use as few parts as necessary.
And then, like we did the same thing, the engine transmission, if you're going forward, are part of that Mustang. We just shortened up the Mustang drive shaft. No custom special machining needed. The intake manifold was on that engine when we got it, but it came with a 500 CFM 4-barrel. And I called Dave, and he was at a swap meet that day. I said, Dave, you need to go find us a 500 CFM 2-barrel. It dawned on me, like fuel-injected cars have a single throttle body, and they have linear throttle response. If we only need 500 CFM, it doesn't matter if there's 2 or 4 Venturis. That has been one of the greatest modifications done to that car. I cut the horsepower down a little bit, I think, but the drivability just went through the roof. I mean, it's got absolutely linear throttle response. It's not twitchy, it doesn't spit, it doesn't have a surge in any place. It's just like a fuel-injected car, but without the complication.
You know, consider this, guys. This car was built as a race car, as an endurance race car. Everything on this car, while it may not look like something you would want to drive every day or it may not look comfortable, this is the car that is going to get you around a track running at 4,500 RPMs for a 24-hour race. He's got a 25 gallon fuel cell because that's the maximum that LeMons will allow. He said he gets about 2.5 hours out of runtime for that, and that's at speed, which is pretty good. There's no power steering in the car, so you feel everything coming through the wheel. A lot of people don't like cars without power steering, but it's actually pretty good. I mean, you know what's going on with the front wheels. It's a little, I don't want to say bouncy, but it translates good to the driver. You know what's happening here. The 5-liter under the cowl up front makes about 220 horsepower, but in a car that weighs 2,400 pounds, I mean, what more do you really need? Everybody concentrates so much on power. I need 400 horsepower, 500 horsepower. 2,400 pounds, 220 horsepower, a great, nice, stout 5-speed transmission, manual brakes, and good gearing. Let me tell you something. You got a pocket racer, will scream like this all f***ing day.
We never had an idea that it would have the notoriety that it does. It's always a shock to me when I look back and see that it's had all kinds of people writing about it, talking about it, and both positively and negatively.
What are some of the negative comments you've gotten on that car?
That's a car you couldn't build in your driveway on jack stands.
That looks like a pro-built car. That's not something that every man can build, whether it's in a driveway or whatever. The rarity of the Model T body and the rarity of the Model A frame, both of which are, if you're a hot rod guy, those are cast-off parts. No one wants a stock Model A frame. Everyone wants some engineered custom frame that they can bolt together. I mean, the parts have no value to real hot rodders, but to people who just look at the car, they think those are incredibly rare, classic, amazing parts. How could you turn them into a LeMons car?
We've talked before about power is nothing without control, and that's kind of an old Pirelli adage, but it's really true. In a car like this, that's not overpowered, you learn where you can apply power, where you need to take it away. You can utilize 100% of it in an environment that is really not going to get you killed. When I told Fish we wanted to drive this car, he was like, no problem. Like, what can we do and what can't we do? He goes, dude, you're not going to break it. He's like, take it out and rip the wheels off. As a LeMons car, like I said, it's an endurance racer. He's like, I've had people crash into K-rails with this thing. He goes, it might get a little dinged up and a little dented here and there, but they fix it. That's what a cool car is. If you're going to take a car like this or any car on the racetrack, what you have to remember is you have to be willing to leave it there, right? You take a car on a track, understand that if you stack it into a wall, insurance is not going to cover it. So you have to be in that frame of mind that you can let it go.
It looks like we'll probably race it for another year or so. It still has a stigma at LeMons that is difficult to overcome.
It becomes a controversial talking point. There's people who want to beat it, and there's people who don't want to race against it because they're tired of it winning. That part of it comes down to the fact that Dave and I run LeMons as a very competitive team, and we tune every aspect of our program to win. But the car is an easy focal point for that because of the work, the engineering, and overall the individuality of it. I mean, it's unlike anything else at a LeMons race. I mean, it is absolutely one of a kind. And being that signature, it's an easy focal point for that.
Early on, Dennis alluded to the fact that not everyone can build a car like this. And guess what? That's true. This is a recycle bin of discarded parts and old hot rod dreams. Cars like this require skill, imagination, drive, and a will to create something that has the ability to go out and beat the competition. To those out there who cite rules, regulations, and bylaws, well, keep it up, as that is part of the game. However, in my experience, the ones who bitch are usually the guys coming across the finish line in second place.
There you go. Feels like you talk.
Oh, that's nice. Can you get out? See, the other thing about this car is there are no doors. There is a cage because, like I said, this car is a race car. Oh, Skinny Zach, that's Zach's knee right there. He's still trying to squiggle his way out. You got it, there, skinny guy?
Sorry, you mean normal healthy size, not fat New Yorker?
I'm not fat New Yorker, I'm just big bone.
How many pizzas can you eat, Mike?
A bunch.
Yeah, you should know that answer.
Dude, I'm a processor.